Hey there, paper geeks and glitter nerds, it's Sinna the Crazy Geek Crafter. I was a bit stumped for inspiration for this video, so I actually decided to take out my Tim Holtz Village collection and try it out for the first time. I figured I wanted to do a spring themed project and I just wanted to have fun and play around with the dies. So I'm flipping through this paper with some greeneries. I'm hoping to find a pattern for the house and one for the roof. And when I flip through it once, I'll speed things up a bit, because then I go back and contemplate which ones I want. I could only agree with myself on the house paper for now, so I'm going to leave the roof decision till later. And now I need to chop this down so that it can go through the die cutting machine. And I'm also thinking about window sizes. I pick a roof type, the addition, and I pick house 1, and I'm going to need a roof piece for that one and for the addition. And well, the cutting can begin. The hinged door cutout only comes in these plates with windows, and since I want the door on one side of the house, I am trying out a different method. I'm cutting out the door and leaving the tab on the side so I can glue it to the inside of the house, and then I'm just making an opening for the door to open. For whether you want it opening in or out, that's up to you. And then I pick a style of windows and more cutting. I've been fiddling with the house for a bit, and I've decided to cover up the side with the 2 windows with the addition. Instead of having 2 windows in the end and then the addition on the other end, I'm going to hide the 2 there. They were not as straight as I wanted them, and I got to thinking that maybe there's too many windows. You know, where would you put your wardrobe in this cottage if you don't have a wall that is just wall? I imagine that the addition will be where the bathroom is. It's a later addition to the house, and yeah, I make up stories. I actually also think I know where the kitchen is in this little cottage and everything. That has to do with where you place the chimney, because that one would have to go to the stove in the olden days, that is. So now I'm trying out the hole for the door, and it's a bit tight. You have to force it a little bit to get through, but it is possible to glue it in to have a door that can open. I've chosen to do the doors and the windows in green because it's a nice color and it goes with spring. I'm choosing a bit of a dark green though for it. And this is just a scrap I have. I have no clue where it came from, so. Luckily there was enough of it. I was actually afraid at one point that I wasn't going to have enough. And this is where I figure out that there's a die that's missing, the door frame. So I free cut it from this cutout. And I'm going to have to make another door to make a frame for the other door, since I put in 2. One for the front of the house and one for the garden side. Maybe that's a bit too much for a tiny house like this, but I figured I could do something with the yard that would explain why you would want it. But that's somewhere in the future. I think maybe I'll keep going with this house. Make a base for it and some greenery and stuff. But for now, this is all there'll be. It's not like I have a lack of house projects at the moment with my haunted house getting ready to paint and everything. I think I have my hands full when it comes to houses. But I really was looking forward to getting this die set and making a house, and now I finally had some time. So, and normally when I do houses I put acetate and then vellum behind the windows, but for this project I skipped the acetate. Now I'm contemplating whether I should put glossy accents in the windows to make them seem old-fashioned, but I don't know if I'll do it. Again, let's just get the haunted house done first, and then I can worry about my spring cottage here. With the windows in place on the house, I'm keeping the upstairs windows for now. I'm ready to start roofing. And that's a kind of boring thing, so I sped it up quite a lot. Both the cutting of the roof shingles and the coloring of them, since I didn't want them stark green like this. And I knew I was going to put shingles on the roof, that's why I just cut out the roof as was, with the notch in it, because I could cover it up with the shingles. Getting the roofs on, both of them, both the addition and the main house, is tricky and a bit annoying, but once it's on, it stays on, I can tell you that much. I didn't have any trouble once the glue dried. And I put the, I don't even know what that's called in English, the top of the roof on as the very last thing, because I wanted it to be glued in the right angle with the house. And now I'm just gonna fluff up the tiles. This will make them catch color better when I go over them again, and also it will give some dimension to the house. Of course, once I've filled them all up, I'm going to gently try to push them back down. There'll still be a little bit of dimension, but not as much as you see here. So, if I had not put on the skylights, it may have been a bit easier on this side here to color it in without worrying about coloring in the windows. But I managed. I'm still uncertain whether I should do a bit of a dry brushing with a highlight color, but again, it may come later. For now, I am just finishing the cottage. It's going to need a chimney. Of course, it must. And I'm going to use the same pattern paper as before. Only problem is the inside is white, and you can't have a chimney that's white on the inside. So we're coloring it with the very appropriate color, black soot. This is the only block I have with an actual sharp edge, but it was very good to have for these tabs. I wasn't very happy that this was a middle of the roof kind of chimney, since I could see some issues within the house if you had to put the chimney right there in the middle, either side of the roof, but on the middle of the, yeah, I lost for words. So I'm going to cut it and then attach it to one side. Only problem is it's not very high, and as I remember it, a chimney is supposed to clear the rooftop, so I'm a bit limited to where I can put it. But I finally come to a decision. Gluing it on the fluffed up roof tiles was a bit tricky, but I'll say that it's pretty solid now. I tried to put on the trim piece, but it wasn't working for me. For some reason, just didn't want to cooperate, and then it seemed to be too short, which I don't get. But I just took it off and threw it away. This concludes this week's video, and next week I'll be doing a haunted house video. I'm not sure it will be the most exciting one, but it is a step in the process. I hope you'll join me. Until then, I hope you'll be having a good day, evening, or night.